Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blue Chip Prospect. How is it going? Hope all of you guys are having a great summer so far. Today, we are back to evaluate the first pick of the Montreal Canadiens at the 2025 NHL Draft, and we are talking about the Wizard, Alex Zharovsky. His hands and his creativity are by far his two most dominant attributes, but we'll dive deep into every facet of his game. So let's start this thing right now. But obviously, before we start, please take the time to like and subscribe to the channel, especially if you want more Habs content and prospect content. There is plenty coming up, so press that little ding-a-ling and let's do this right away. Let's start with the basics. Alex Zharovsky is a left shot winger who stands at 6'1", but the guy is also very, very light. He's around 160 pounds or something like that. And whether those numbers are the official ones from the Miles team combined or not, he's somewhere around the 160s. So like I said, very, very light. That's both a good and a bad thing. Being this light means that there's significant runway physically to become more assertive in the contact and in battles for the pucks, but also to get more power in those legs for better explosion, better stability, and just more strength altogether. It means the player haven't reached his physical potential, so there's more to extract from him. On the other hand, it makes him a long-term project, and who knows if he can actually put the muscle on the frame, which brings questions about physicality and durability down the road, being less effective in puck battles and on the forecheck. So like I said, really there's pros and there's cons. When it comes to stats, Zharovsky was one of the best prospects out of the MHL last season, and I don't think it's really that close. He ended up the season with 50 points in 45 games, including 24 goals, which is very similar to Artemi Panarin in terms of points per game, but it's also very similar to about 1 million players who just never touched the NHL ice. By now, we know that stats in the MHL has to be taken with a grain of salt. Many players with well over a point per game never makes it to the NHL, while if you do the same exercise for players in the OHL, the vast majority will play or make it to the NHL. But when it comes to the Eastern Silver Division, the grain of salt has to become a block of salt. This division is as bad as it gets when it comes to junior hockey. Teams with no KHL or even VHL affiliations, teams in Siberia and teams in Kazakhstan, or even B-level team from stronger programs like Loco, who has a team in the gold division of the Western Conference, but also a much lower talent level team in the Eastern Silver Division. So basically, poor coaching, poor development and infrastructure, often terrible goalies and on-ice structure. So the stats don't mean that much in this division, but Tolpar Ufa, the team for which he was playing, is by far the top program in this division. Actual KHL affiliation with Salavat Yulaev, who, just to mention, once was Radulov and Kaprizov's team. Just saying. So let's start this breakdown with what is probably the weakest part of his game, the skating. I went back to the beginning of the season to see if it progressed at all over the season, and I can definitely say that it did. Is it above average? Not at all, but at least it looks like he fixed a lot of what I didn't like from the beginning of the season. I wouldn't say it was ever poor, but the difference is night and day. There wasn't any urgency in his skating in the first half, never actually trying to push the pace, just being comfortable using his hands to go through traffic, no deep knee bend to generate power and speed, no stutters in transition, no speed generation through his crossover to create speed differentials and just space between him and the defense in transition. It did not look so great. But now in the second half and in the KHL, there's just so much more urgency, a lot more pedal to the metal type of skating in transition and in coverage, which we will see later. The posture isn't perfect, but he's much deeper in his stance. He isn't explosive, but he can generate enough speed to separate from other players. It does break down sometime, and you can see players catching up to him, but to me at least, it looks like it's mostly at the end of shift or late in the game, which I'm fine with. But the biggest difference for me is the elusiveness in transition. What looked like successful entries due to the MHL level of play before now look like high-end transitional play where he uses both his feet and his hands to push a defense and cut through, and all kinds of crossover patterns to create space between him and the defense. When it comes to offense, I think he's really effective everywhere in the offensive zone, and he often starts in the neutral zone. When he attacks on the rush, he's basically unstoppable, whether he gets the puck in motion on a breakout or if he gets the puck from a standstill on a breakdown in the neutral zone. He has just so many moves and so much creativity that there's just no stopping him. With the little added steppy steps in his boots that we just talked about and his elite puck control, if he can add explosion to those legs, he will be a very, very dangerous rush attacker. He also has a little bit of that Demidov attack the middle on every entry mentality. A lot of his offense comes from off the rush, and that's where his creativity stands out the most, but he makes plays on the move, and just like Demidov used to do, he seems to always find a way to cut inside, either uses his hand to get inside or cut in protecting the puck. He has the hand quickness and the creativity to attack the middle third of the ice on basically every rush. For obvious reasons here, I'm trying to base most of my observation on what I've seen at the KHL level, especially for the playing habits, but it's not like he played a ton there, so I also have to look at what he's done at the MHL level and base some of it on it, but mostly just the raw skills more than the habits itself, because skills are obvious at basically any level. If you get through 5 players in the MHL, there's a very good chance that you can get through at least one player at a higher level. And what I found impressive is how quickly developed a support and cycle game against KHL talent. MHL was a lot of attacking head first, spray and pray style of hockey, but against men, he was much more methodical in the way he approached offense. The handling skills, the space creation skills, the creativity, and how he found players in the slot was still very, very apparent. But I thought he also had very good positioning on the ice and also good body positioning and reception to give himself just a second or two to find the next play without having to battle for the puck constantly. He was very intense on the puck, intense in battles, chipping pucks behind the defense and uses momentum and speed to be first on pucks. He switched from a less projectable junior style to a very pro-like mentality in an instant, and I'm sure that's something the Habs management really loved about him, because when you add the obvious skills plus the unstoppable transition game through the neutral zone to a capacity to play in a more structured way, rigid and harder style of hockey while being way underdeveloped physically, it gets interesting really quick. I don't personally think that the passing and the shooting skills individually are anything to write home about, but combined with the deception coming from his stick, his brain, and positioning, it's easy to see him explode into a dual threat if everything goes well. Like, the skills on their own are solid, but I'm not sure he has that beat goalie from mid-range type of shot or a Jake O'Brien perfectly weighed and flat pass every single time. But where he shoots from, how he sees the ice, how he creates looks for himself and his teammate is the whole game behind his distribution and scoring projection. I think he's often described as a soft skill guy first and foremost, which is true in some way, but that would not give justice to his increasing intensity and his offensive intelligence. It would not give justice to his inside drive as well as his ability to create off the wall, getting pucks outside in, finding open players with space and time in high danger areas. He's clearly more than just a spectacular handler. Defensively, like any winger at the MHL level, there is work to do, but it's not by lack of trying. And if I'm being honest, I kind of like what I see. Does he make the perfect reads every single time? Obviously no, but he applies pressure at the blue line. He's intense on a puck carrier. He tries to disrupt passing lane using his stick, even though I don't think his stick is there yet. He back checks hard, like really, really hard sometimes, applies pressure, support his defense down low. Yes, he will sometimes get strapped and follow his guy to the end of the world or be too aggressive on the puck carrier, but at least he's not just waiting past the blue line while the opposing team still has the puck. I can say that he applied himself with the same intensity consistently night after night in the MHL, because that wouldn't be true, but the guy took his KHL stint very seriously. He didn't go there to be a passenger. He went there to play. Physicality, defense, offense, transition, cycle, dump-ins. He flashed a little bit of everything. Now, obviously, it's not like he's a perfect player and the Habs got a straight-up steal in the second round. In my opinion, there's definitely a chance that he turns into a steal. There's a reason why I had him at 34 exactly where the Habs grabbed him. It's because there's significant boom or bust risk with Zharovsky. There's no doubt that he will need to keep improving on his skating, mostly his explosion, so he can keep doing what he's doing and also explode off the board with with the puck to make plays. He also needs to gain muscle and become stronger in both his lower and upper body. He has the compete to be an NHLer, but he doesn't have the strength or the body to go through an NHL season. I'm not too worried about his game. There was a lot of individualistic plays in the MHL and a lot of pushing with a direct attack style that can't work at the NHL level. But in his short stint in the KHL in the playoff, he showed a lot of adaptability. He's going to need to keep adapting his game to a more pro style, learn to play with less puck touches and less time with the actual puck on his stick. But that's the part that I'm the less worried about. When it comes to NHL comp for Zharovsky, it's hard to find a player that isn't a star level player because I obviously do not expect Zharovsky to become a star, but also has a slight frame but solid offensive capabilities based on vision and handling skills. And the player that keeps coming back in my mind is Ken Johnson. Obviously, Ken Johnson was a 5th overall pick in the 2021 draft, so the probability to reach this level are probably quite low. And Johnson was a point per game player in the NCAA in his draft year, so they aren't starting at the same place at all, but they both have an offensive mind with a slight frame and elite hands. So there you go for Zharovsky. I think it was a fantastic decision to swing for upside at 34, and Zharovsky was the right guy for this. So next one coming up at some point. I don't know exactly when. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.